It all comes down to one more map here for the group stage of the mid-season brawl as Tempo Storm goes up against Soul Torturers. The winner will be moving on and the loser will be going home. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the analysis desk as I am joined by Grubby, Trixler and Fan for what is sure to be a pretty intense single map that we're going to have here, as obviously these guys have gone up against one another and it concluded in a 1-1.
Yes, single combat to determine the victor and to determine who falls down. This is going to be everything, basically. Like Tempo Storm said, their mentality into this is that nothing else really matters. It's all about this one map. And it's going to be important.
Yeah, they say nothing really matters. It's all about one map, but you still have to remember what happened last series. You know, this was a series that Tempo Storm was on the verge of winning. It even felt like they were doing pretty well in the second map. And there's all that one moment that a lot of people remember from the tournament, the Void Prison into the Malfurion Twilight Dream. Now, of course, that occurred, but Tempo Storm doesn't think that is a major moment they should worry about. They're not going to ban out a Zeratul or anything like that. They're going to play their game here and just focus on this game in particular and hope to get through.
A big moment for Tempo Storm, of course, for a lot of North American fans out there. Fan. That was almost a fan's fan, but I made it work. So what do you think they have to be considering coming into this?
I mean, I think if they just play their own game, they should be able to take out the Soul Torturers. I am still of the opinion that, you know, Tempo Storm overall is a slightly stronger team than Soul Torturers. So going into this matchup, I feel like they should be a little bit favored.
I think I agree with that in terms of drafting, especially in the last couple of days. They've really stepped it up in their drafting. They have ideas and compositions they want to pull off. Execution has been a little bit less than I would want or desire, and I think if you look at Soul Torturers here, they're a little bit better in team fighting. That's kind of what hurt them on that second map on Cursed Hollow the last time they faced off.
Right, well, we can talk about some of those nuances in just a moment as we do focus on the teams in a bit. But again, just to kind of explain how the map system works, it's very important here for the tiebreakers. I mentioned it just before in the previous series, and I will mention it once again here, just in case you're only tuning in now for this one map. So there is a priority system of the maps that were used in Phase 1 of the HGC. The highest were the ones that were most played by teams in the HGC, and the lowest, obviously, were the least played. From there, what we do is we place the 4 maps, the 2 maps that were played, and 2 maps that were banned by the teams in their previous series. And then from there, we find out... Those 4 cannot be played, by the way. And then from there, we look down the priority list, and we pick the one that does not correspond to one of those 4 maps. And we result in Shire for this game.
I don't get it. Can you explain again?
No. I've done it twice.
That's very well explained. It's true, it's going to be Shire. And a coin flip to determine who's going to be first pick or first ban.
Correct.
I saw Caterpillar coming from that coin flip. He said, I've done it for first pick. And then his teammates asked, how did you do it? I don't know. We'll never know.
Fantastic.
It's truly amazing, these deciders.
A marvel of ingenuity. So, the previous maps that they did play against one another were Towers of Doom and Cursed Hollow, if I recall correctly. And we can focus now on our first team going into this map. So let's begin things here as we do look at Tempo Storm. They had what people could consider to be an advantage kind of going into that series. They took the first map. They almost were able to round things out on the second, but it did not go their way, Trixler.
Yeah, and it really came down to a misunderstanding between teammates. It felt like I heard them talking about it afterwards. The particular moment was when there was leaving in the top left. There was an impression from the support, June, that someone was going to die, and Cattle at the time didn't think he was going to die, so the miscommunication, and the bottom right there was a 3v5 that was occurring, and a slight miscommunication in a couple of seconds, and Soul Torturers just ran away from it. The game continued, of course, with that big massive play in the bottom left, and obviously history is history here. So with it coming onto Shire, I do want to know if Tempo Storm is ready to take this battleground and get someone that can be great at scuffling around the battleground.
I want to mention, by the way, that what you just said is completely accurate. That's how Tempo Storm felt about the game, but I completely disagree with it, by the way.
Okay.
I think Tempo Storm was winning for about 7 minutes on Cursed Hollow, and then after that, EGST won every single fight.
Right.
And they were always going to win it, whether or not it was going to be with a Void Prison Twilight Dream finish or not. Like, I felt like the pressure had been 100% from EGST's side, so I think it's a deserved 1-1, and this is going to be the decider. We saw Fury just now, one more map. He's lost a bunch of times against the PBA members who are now in EGST.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've brought it up multiple times. It's Fury versus the old PBA. He's lost twice, once on Gale Force, once on Tempo. And then this time around, he's gone 1-1 Tempo versus the new iteration, Soul Torturers, with 3 members from old PBA, and one more game decides it all.
That's
I mean,
right.
you know Fury a little bit here. Do you think there is any mind games going right now? Is he stressing out about this, or is this something that he's just like, hey, it's another game, I'm going to go through and play it, or does that history kind of lean on him a little?
You know, I feel like Fury normally wouldn't get too stressed out by this kind of stuff, but at this point it's just getting uncanny. So I feel like anyone might be a little bit stressed out by that.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to kind of attempt to put it at the back of your mind here. 5 great guys, the third one of particular interest, I think. And overall, it would be a shame to see them lose out here. But at the same time, it would be a shame to lose our second team going into this map. Of course, it is Soul Torturers. They've done so much here in the group stage, and even there against E-Star in the clutch moment when E-Star went crazy bonkers, they were able to clutch it out, Grubby.
Yeah, that was quite something. When you have that much E-Star coming at you the entire game, no matter the conditions, in game 1 and 2, it is difficult to stay seated. But I do have a feeling that that little penguin has a little bit to do with them being able to stay grounded, their mascot. EGST strike me as warriors here. They've battled through the group in the most difficult fashion, have now earned their way into a tiebreaker to challenge Tempo Storm for that advancement.
I mean, for me personally, they were in probably the most exciting series I've seen this entire tournament. So,
So fun. If you guys haven't watched it yet, check it out, EGST E-Star.
If anyone was watching that, I'm sure they have fans now ready to watch them go. Either way that I look at this, if Tempo Storm goes home, I'm upset. If Soul Torturers goes home, I'm upset. I wish I could keep them both.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you heard them previously. Even though they got pretty much what they wanted out of the E-Star set, you know, the best they could really realistically hope for, I think, was a 1-1 there, E-Star being at the top of the group and them being towards the lower end. Even though they got the result they wanted, they said they weren't playing that well and they need to kind of reset their mentality, and if they play that well this series, they won't win. They said that, and they're, you know, really want to reset their mentality and go into this series strong. Or this single game, that is.
Exactly, yeah. I trip up on that sometimes as well, because it's very rare we only have to actually play one map to determine the outcome of something here. But it's come down to this, and as you mentioned, it was 1-1 before, so this is a true decider. As we now get into the last game of the day, the tiebreaker here between Tempo Storm and Soul Torturer. One of these teams is no more here in the tournament.
The Haka with the instant ban. This threatens Abathur, something Tempo Storm and many other teams have been running with much glee. By now he's up to a score of 14-1.
Yeah, have to mention that this is Dragon Shire, so it is probably one of the least likely maps if we are to see an Abathur, just due to the nature of the map.
Until
and
yesterday.
Bodies. Yeah, that's true.
No, you're right, of course. You don't see Abba here often, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't be that surprised if it does come out.
I mean,
Soul Torturers with that Genji ban.
Yeah, in Europe, it kind of became a bit of a big deal in the last few weeks. It could definitely be pulled off with strong top laners. Kind of supplement them. You also do a solid job of sitting in the middle. That way you can mine out the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle and make sure that there's no rotations that occur that you don't see. We'll see if that might occur as Uther gets picked up.
One thing, again, that's important to reiterate is because this is tournament life on the line, there is no holding back. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
You have to pull something out if you've been hiding something. Try your absolute best.
Yeah. Many games mattered in the group stage so far. Some of them you aren't sure if it's going to be ultimately decisive. This is the most decisive game so far of the entire group stage. And there we go, Vala Ariel.
Very interesting start already. Yeah, Tempo with the first pick, Uther, solid first pick there, and Soul Torturers responding with the Vala Oriole. We've seen what teams like E-Star can do with those two heroes, so I want to see what Tempo does to kind of mitigate that threat.
This is a hard pick phase. You weren't sure what they're going to be. You know, obviously Tempo Storm, Soul Torturer, they've been discussing what they want to be doing. They knew that they were first pick, second pick for a while. You don't know it's going to be Vala Ariel in first rotation. Now, they're crunching. Did they account for this permutation? What are they going to be bringing out? Greymane, obvious one. Uther Greymane. Another one is Tyrael. Or are they bringing out their Muradin on second rotation again, Fan? Would you lose your...
I would lose my
Cool.
mind if they picked Muradin here. Yeah, especially with a Nubrak and Malfurion. Or not Malfurion, but a Nubrak still being up for grabs.
I think when we were actually talking to Sam, I think it was in the interview, he mentioned that he was, or was it? I can't even remember if it was Sam or not, but they mentioned that they realized that that was a problem, an issue, when they went into that draft.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Greymane and Nubrak comes out very acceptable, indeed.
Quite acceptable. Get your engages, cocoons, can get set up for the fight, but gosh, anytime I look at a Chinese team and I see them with Vala and Ariel, my heart just pounds a little bit.
So your heart is not pounding
It's
because
not
they're
hard
from
right now.
Taiwan.
Exactly. And that's why I think Tempo Storm might have a chance here. Maybe they can dive in, take out the Taiwan team here, and get an engage and break them down. Now the question is, do we have a Tassadar ban coming later on? We've seen Tassadar in the mix of rotation when you have Ariel and Vala, and on Dragonshire in particular, Tassadar can be quite powerful.
Yeah, you either ban the warrior that Soul Torture hasn't been taken yet, or you ban the TAS to prevent TAS Vala Ariel. Now, we've seen that ANZ does a really good Vala Ariel. We've seen the Chinese do a really good Vala Ariel. Most other regions haven't really done it yet. So Taiwan will either join that rank or stay out of it for the rest of the tournament. That's pretty interesting.
Yes,
Ah,
and the
there it
Zeratul
goes.
ban.
Okay.
All right.
I was about to say confirmed win, but I'll hold back. Memes are not
You
allowed
thought
here in this
Zeratul would have
serious
been a
moment.
big deal, Fan.
I mean, it's not really good against any of Tempo Storm's heroes, but, you know,
It's just
it's
a
pretty good
Zeratul.
against their players, so...
This is psychological advantage.
Just, yeah, psychologically, I'm
Okay.
with Tempo now. I'm feeling a lot more confident for their side.
Diva ban is interesting.
Yeah, it is. I wasn't expecting that.
No, I do like it. It's very strong to break apart that comp of Vala Ariel and whatever. Keep in mind though, Tassadar is open now, plus the warrior of choice, whatever that's going to be. There
That's
we
what I
go.
was worried about, the Tassadar, and it
Yeah.
does get picked up right away.
I think that's a much bigger deal than Zeratul, but you know, pick your Protoss, they say.
yeah, I
They
think
do
so
say
too.
that pretty often. I hear that all the time, Grubby. Well, Leoric will be picked up, so we'll have that top lane set up. And this is where I'm kind of curious. Do we see Chen again from Tempo Storm? Do they want to have a strong top lane? When you have a Vala, Ariel, Tassadar, usually that bottom lane is going to do pretty darn well. So you want to get someone that can really bully out that top lane. But with Leoric floating around now in the field, that comes a little bit more difficult.
So Chen is good against, he's pretty good against Vala Ariel Tas, pretty fine. He's not great against Leo, and
Yeah.
that's going to be his primary adversary.
Yeah, Chen, I mean, they've played it before. There's very little stuns on the side of Soul Torturers. There is like
Leo?
the force wall into the whip, but I think Chen might slightly lose to the Leo, but the problem is most things you pick here will also slightly lose to the Leo, so
Sure.
True.
Sonya could also be
Wow.
a viable...
fast.
Ooh.
Ooh, bringing
And
Sonya back.
Gonna
would
get
be cool.
Stitch-
There it
Oh,
is.
Chen.
It is the Chen.
Okay,
Ho ho.
this is it.
This is it, as I say on the side over here. So for the final and fifth pick,
It's going to be a warrior for the rotation. Murden makes most sense. You get Skullcracker, you get a lot of sustain, and that's what Vala Ariel Tas thrives on as well. Skullcracker removes Chen's
Yeah,
drinking.
very good.
I can't see any other pick. I'm like completely zoning in on it.
I think a Johanna would be okay as well. Due to the particular structure of Dragonshire, if you're going with the Leoric top lane, your tri-lane is in the bottom side, then you need a solo lane for middle, while Murden is stronger at, like, you know, in the actual team fights, and he does provide the stun. You don't really want your Murden to be stuck mid. He can't really wave clear, and...
So then he can never join bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Any other options?
and we've seen Stitches in the past, but I don't think that will be the way to go with a Chen and Nubrak and Uther in that
Yeah.
front line. It's way too difficult to pull off.
Such dive.
Prefer the Johanna pick overall for Dragonshire, but I think it's going to be Murden, as you mentioned, just because of what Soul Tortures have picked in the past. But they do go for the Johanna, yes.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they're very, what that pick tells me is they're very much all in on their laning phase. They have a winning top lane, a strong solo laner mid, and a winning bottom lane. So they want to crush this game before Tempo Storm can get ultimates. If Tempo Storm is even at 10, I think they'll have a good shot at winning this game. But if they're like really far behind, then Soul Torturers might take the game.
Okay. Well, good call on the Johanna.
What are the thoughts then about this draft?
I think Fan makes a lot of sense here. Johanna will be able to clear faster. It's a very threatening 4-man. Kel'Thas, he needs a little bit of time to get into the game. So it will be very much about who can win the early game. I think both have a good team, though. Can't argue against Uther and Nubarak either.
Yeah, I'm pretty terrified. If you're a Tempo Storm fan, I think you should be terrified as well. This is a solid composition for Shire. If a support maybe missteps and they're able to get engaged they want, Tempo Storm can get a couple of kills, but I don't think it's going to be occurring here. I go with Soul Torturers.
Well, there we go. We're going into predictions. I guess, Grubby, please start us off.
I believe in the Uther and Nubarak. It's very tough. I do think that we will see a 2-level lead. But until level 13, we'll see a 2-level lead for EGST, for Soul Torturers. But in the end, I do think it will get down to comeback potential and finally getting to even talents fight. And in that fight, I believe Tempo Storm will do it.
Tim?
Yeah, Soul Torturers are the way. The only way I see it working is if Chen does a really good job in that top lane and they're able to somehow slow down that bottom lane rotation.
Fan?
I actually really like to draft from Soul Torture's side here, but you know, at this point, I'm getting a little bit scared. If my predictions mean anything at all, I gotta go with the NA pride. You know, gotta stand up for the region. Tempo Storm.
All right, let's see what chat thinks as well. Thank you guys. As a big moment here, and a lot going over to Soul Torturers to start this out. As we're sat here, we can overhear the words being exchanged by the players as Sam sending motivational words to the rest of his team. It's a big moment for both of these teams. One is going to be able to prevail and move on to the playoffs. For now, we head over to the commentary team here to bring you the last map of the group stage.
Thank you very much, Kalaris. And like he said, this is one of the most high-stakes games of the tournament. One team is going to DreamHack Summer, and one is out of the mid-season brawl. I am Tetra, and casting with me for the first time from doing us together is Jayhow. Would you like to introduce the team on the left?
I sure would, because Tetra, it all comes down to this. Tempo Storm gonna have June on Uther, Fury on Anubarak, Cawthon Luck on Greymane, Psalm on Kel'Thas, and Caterpillar manning Chen.
And on the right-hand side, from Taiwan, it is the Soul Torturers. God Dog on Valor, Hikari on Ariel, Zola on Tassadar, Lowly on Leoric, and Scroll is on Johanna. God Dog is on a pleb horse. I am tilted.
That is the best way to do it. They're already coming in with a little bit of a flanking position as we see Fury trying to scout out here. You know, we heard Grubby say this is potentially a late game composition for Tempo Storm, and right away we have 3 questing talents, 2 of them around the regen globes on the side of Tempo Storm, so we'll have to keep an eye on that as time does progress here.
Response from that, though, Johanna going with the same talent, that regen master. Leoric, though, avoiding his oh, hang on, engage onto Ariel. Very squishy at this point, not got the cooldown reduction, but she's able to survive. Godzog trying to turn some damage onto June.
It brings back memories of last summer here at DreamHack, where it was ETC into a Kel'Thas combo. This time, got a Nubarak lining it up, and you can see the kill potential definitely there early game.
Yes, we can. But yeah, no reanimation for Leoric. He's instead sticking with block to try and protect himself from that Greymane. Who can blame him? Greymane very scary, but he still has his cocktail talents to continue to poke down as he has started off with that level 1 perfect aim.
This is an interesting rotation because we got Johanna as well going into that regen talent at level 1. So look for the heavy rotations from both teams. You can already see Tempo Storm definitely being the more aggressive. They have the early game kill potential with Kel'Thas, with Greymane, so they continue to rotate these middle and bottom lanes. If there's going to be any action, it'll probably be on the side of Tempo.
Potentially, the Anub gives you great dive potential, whereas Johanna does have to run up. She gets a little stun onto Fury there. No one in range to follow up, and Fury's still a bit too far away. Here comes some damage onto Fury. God Dog vaulting away from the Anubarak stun. So far, 0 kills in this game.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes Shire can be like that early game. It's not always going to be that heavy action. A lot of times it's whenever the first team becomes super aggressive. It can be whenever level 10 hits. And then this map opens up and it becomes a lot more exciting. So we'll see as these teams definitely playing the questing game here early on. Nice detainment strike though by Ariel.
Sam also getting dropped quite low. Gonna have to either be back, maybe grab a fountain. Looks like he's gonna do neither. He is actually gonna stay, take the risk, and just be a little bit squishier at this stage in the game. The top lane, which is the longest battle of all time, and we won't see a huge amount of action up there for quite a while, as both these heroes are very sustaining, but Chen adding a bit more to his wave clear to compete with Leoric with that Ring of Fire at level 4.
Definitely something that won't be the most
Psalm.
exciting early on. Psalm, though, as you can see there, has a very low health pool. As you can see, the Psystorm trying to delay that back.
Psalm is playing with fire this game, and not just because he's Kale fast, but he did get back, he did restore his mana, heading back to mid lane and to help with this Siege Giant camp.
Well, the priority on camps is no surprise. Tempo loves to play a more map control-oriented approach. And one way to do that, especially early game, if you're having trouble in lanes, going up against something like an Ariel Vala, you grab the Siege Giants, relieve some of that pressure, because we can see, Tetcher, those towers are already out of ammo.
They're really struggling. The Ariel Vala is so hard to lane against. It just destroys anything it goes up against. But due to the sheer amount of sustain it offers, because Ariel doesn't need to be. She doesn't need mana. You can see she's full energy, and she just doesn't need to spend it right now.
Yeah, you know, Tempo Storm has kind of let their foot off the pedal just a little bit in terms of their aggression. Psalm and Fury now starting to come down. They're looking for a rotation. You can see nice juke there. Scroll, of course, on Johanna. No big deal. Tempo Storm forced to walk away, missing the gravity lapse there.
The interesting attempt at the turnaround. Some throwing that out, but God Dog 2 on point, using that extra movement speed that he got at level 1 with Hot Pursuit. Just with his Hatred and Hot Pursuit, so he was able to get out of the way.
It looks like we have the rotation again. Very safe rotations on the side of Tempo Storm. And when it comes to these battles, you can see that bottom lane, the pressure there, the gravity lapse missing again. And it's going to be very difficult to take down Tassadar, Tetcher. I mean, we already saw him shift away, but more importantly, Tempo Storm has now lost their well here in the bottom lane.
They have, so now they're pressured in the mid lane due to the DK being available to take. Chen and Leoric battling over top. Tassadar does get stunned up. There's the gravity lapse this time. Does he have a shield? He doesn't need it. He's going to survive. And Scroll actually just moving in 1 versus 3 there, giving Tass a chance to be.
That's what the kill potential possibly can look like. Again, with that E being on cooldown, he wasn't able to get out of there, and it wasn't necessary. Dips back on a Hearth, and we will continue the reset as the top and bottom still controlled. Uther, we can see on the minimap, starting to channel the bottom as the Night Camp being picked up here by Tempo Storm.
Osane Renewal coming in for Leoric. I have not seen this talent in a very long time, but it does give him a little bit more sustain, and I guess that's what he needs against Chen, due to Chen not having to spend mana. For now, Lowly just doing an incredible job. He's sustaining very nicely with Johanna up here as well. Going to force Cattle to back up a bit, but what was at least under control of Tempo Storm for a while, but they've been forced off it. Tassadar getting focused. No dimensional shift this time. The perfect stun chain.
That is exactly how it looks. It is almost impossible to stall out that kill, no matter how much hope. The burst potential between Kael'thas and Greymane, a little bit too much to deal with. That is our first blood of the game.
Yeah, first blood at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. That's how long it's taken due to how well these teams are playing around each other. These Siege Giants going to be cleared up, and finally, the pressure is taken off of the Dragon Knight. Sam takes a little bit of damage from Scroll, but he was once again able to pull back.
It's nice to have somebody like Fury by your side. He walks over, he's like, I'm an Uberek, and you will not harm my teammate anymore. You know, we saw the talents just a few moments ago. You can see the regen globes are being gathered, but Cattle going to have to be careful here as there's starting to be some help rotating to the top here, Tetcher.
However, mid is currently very outnumbered. If Chen can delay this, the Cocoon is dropped, and that guarantees Fury the Dragon Knight. Can they get a kill out of this as well? Tassadar dropping a Storm to attempt to assist, and we do in fact see Scroll able to just drop that Iron Skin and retreat.
Level 10 picked up, and good use of their heroics right there on the side of Tempo Storm to secure the first DK. You can see they're starting to put pressure, already taken down mid-wall. Now they got their eyes set on the bottom lane as well.
Other heroics have also been taking Cursed Bullet. We already saw the Storm Earth Fire getting its value. Dragon Knight, like you said, already attempting to take down a tower. That will go down to the next Fire Breath from the Dragon Knight, as it will also clear up a minion wave. Tassadar getting punted away, removing some of the defense, but not too far as he was punted into the wall.
All right, well, this is actually a pretty good push for Tempo Storm. They're giving up a little bit on the top, but man, this 4-man push down here on the bottom is going to be very threatening. They've already taken the well. The fort will be threatened. The top lane is important, especially when we start to get to the late game. Bottom, of course, equally as important. It just kind of depends on which one comes first. Right now, I kind of like what Soul Torturers is doing in terms of their map control.
Bot lane, incredibly good to take down a fort at this stage in the game. There are Siege Giants and a Bruiser Camp that go in this lane, and there is no Bridge of Death to deal with. It is always mid lane or bot lane, seemingly, where the game is ended. Top lane, just too risky in that choke point, so this is great. That's March of the Black King from Leoric.
I mean, sometimes you try and lock people in, and sometimes you're just not going to get them. Chen and Anub'arak, very difficult to keep locked down. No response to that top lane. The fort goes down. You got to think. Yeah, Leoric, I mean, there are good Entomb opportunities, but you don't have a dive composition when you have Vala Tassadar. Locking them in could be good, but instead, March is what it is, Tetcher.
We will see if he's able to use it. There are ways to use March. They're a little bit safer than just going straight in a straight line all in, and they do have Force Wall, limiting the opponent's attempts to escape. So we'll see how well it works for Lowly. Tas clearing up the Siege Giant camps. God Dog and Hikari, who have just been together all game, taking down the Bruiser camp to put some more pressure on that now fortless top lane.
Not too bad. I tell you what, one of the scariest heroes at level 13, when you talk about 13 heroics, is Kael'thas. He's going to have the lower cooldown reduction with that talent available to him whenever he uses his W. And I tell you what, Kael'thas's damage and threat is going to ramp up here real quick as we have Knights and Giants pushing this bottom keep wall.
We also have a little bit of an interesting talent coming in here from Chen. The Withering Flames are going to try and lower down that multi-shots damage and maybe even some storm damage if Tassadar continues going into it, as he's already taken the movement speed slow if he attacks people who are in his Psy Storm.
Slowly but surely right now, Tetcher, Tempo Storm is starting to gain control of this map. They're starting to dictate the pace a bit more. Early game, they tried it, they backed off a little bit, and they have their pedal pushed again. They're trying to force the fight onto Soul Torturers. Fury, he just burrows out, and there's nothing that Soul Torturers can really force with this composition. Again, with no Entomb, your hard engage is going to be on Johanna, especially with that Blessed Shield, but the opportunities just haven't been there yet.
Ariel gonna attempt to help out here, going with Converging Force. That's gonna push people closer together for that March of the Black King, for the Rain of Vengeance, the double Burning Rage, which will technically get more value thanks to that Converging Force from Ariel, which has the lower cooldown thanks to the level 1 Righteous Assault. This has synergy. What they're going for, it's not standard, but it is good.
We've got a flank coming in here. Anub'arak starting to come around on the backside, and Soul Torturers, could they be overextended? We see the rest.
The cocoon is dropped.
Oh, the cocoon is dropped. They get the impale there. The follow-up, Ariel gonna go down, and this is a bad spot right now for Soul Torturers to be in. Phoenix is down, but 1 kill so far.
Scroll in full retreat. They're going to give up the shrine. They are going to attempt to get top to try and even it out. The gravity lapse just falls short of God Dog, who turns around to try and drop some damage onto Jud, who is staying alive at the moment. Top unable to be grabbed by Leoric.
This is both shrines being channeled. Kato should be able to hold this. Greymane starting to make his way to the Dragonite. This should be Dragonite number 2 in favor of Tempo Storm, and I wonder what we're going to do. Are they going to try and stretch that to 16, take down the mid fort, and then work your way towards the bottom? Phoenix is on a 20 seconds left on that cooldown. Maybe we can get some early keep pressure. Right now, things looking good for Tempo.
Damage onto Tassadar, but this time he dimensional shifts the spike bed, able to dodge that. We see Johanna attempting to just be annoying and drop some of that Burning Rage damage consistently. But the Dragonite just tearing through that fort, and we're actually going to see some keep pressure, J-How.
This is a big moment right now. You have 16. Phoenix is available. You can zone them out. Kael'thas, double Flame Strike at 16, putting the damage on the keep. This is going to be a clutch moment right now for Tempo Storm. It looks like this keep should fall.
Tas consistently dropping the shields, trying to keep it alive, but the Dragonite has too much health here, and 25 seconds left. Enough to share from Chen, keeping his team up, and the first keep in the game is dropped by Tempo Storm.
Tempo Storm has consistently given up a little to gain a lot, and it doesn't look like much at the time, but all of their rotations, all of their camp pressure, everything that they've done has amounted to this, and right now they have a firm grasp on this game. 2-level lead, keep down in the most dominant lane on this map. Right now, Tempo Storm doing good.
They have full control right now. Like you said, they can now be sending catapults, siege giants, bruiser camps, whatever they feel like towards the enemy. They still have Cocoon for blow-up potential. They are in a position where a couple mistakes from Soul Torturers just opens up the game to be ended by Tempo Storm, whereas Soul Torturers still have to work their way back into this. They still need to take Dragonite, still need to take forts, and they absolutely surely need to start working their way towards a keep.
The thing about it is that while we only have 2 kills on the board, Soul Torturers has not been able to show their potential. They've still been looking for their opportunities. They overextended in the bottom lane in the last few minutes. They've been on the back foot, but they still have the potential with this composition to turn things around. They're looking for 16. They've got to be a little bit careful. Chen starting to make his way down. Leoric all the way on the top. Soul Torturers very far forward right now, Tetra.
There's been so little team fighting. Soul Torturers just haven't entered into a full team fight because of Leoric being in that top lane so often. He's coming down now to join his team as he realizes Chen hasn't been in top lane for a while. There's potentially something going on here. So instead, he moves down, he finds the enemy team all in the mid lane, pulls back to safety, and now he knows where they are. There is the potential for Soul Torturers to set up a team fight. Now they're on even talents, but bot lane is being pressured by Mercs.
Yeah, you got to clean that up and then look for your opportunities later. And because that's forced a response down low, it's going to be an easy steal here for Tempo Storm. Scroll will have that iron skin to just walk away. However, Tassadar starting to make his way over. Everybody just jumps right out. No big deal. Tempo Storm, Thatcher, 20 seconds away. Soul Torturers starting to run out of opportunities.
They really are. They have some more sustain. They've built fully for team fights. They have consumed Vitality on Leoric to try and give him some more sustain so he can enter the team fights. Psionic Echo coming in from Tassadar. More damage. Cattle is found. They try to get on him. Guardian Angel Kings keeping him alive. A noob with so much CC. Tom getting chased down by Scroll, but it's going to be Valor who blows up first. March the Black King gets some value. Here comes the Ariel trying to drop the Aegis to keep herself alive. Leoric is exploded. Ariel follows. The Force will just not save Ariel.
Hikari went down. They're continuing their pursuit, looking for more kills. They are not going to be able to find it, but 2 is all they need as they send a Nubarak down and Kael'thas top. Tetra, we are looking at yet another DK, but you can see trying to collapse onto a Chen, and Fury coming in to save the day. Excellent team execution there by Tempo Storm.
Greymane absolutely detonated Valor in that fight. The DK has been taken. They're looking for a second keep in this game. Valor is already up. She's on her way. Ariel up in 5 seconds. She will be available if they want a team fight. There's no 20 available yet for Tempo Storm. They're just trying to gain another advantage. This is not an end game situation.
They have to try and take down this DK. The keep is gone. You're going to try and look for the disengage. Cattle's already out. You need to try and force the fight before 20. If not, you're going to have a hard time. They've got a little bit of damage. They're trying to force it. God Dog going forward, misses the gravity lapse. He's got that extra speed, but he is way out in front of his team.
So
this is crazy.
Gotta go fast, God Dog, but he still can't keep up with Cattle.
Oh.
The Force Wall, though, is good. They try to go for him. The Blessed Shield is just short. Cattle gets dropped so low, he throws and keeps himself alive. Johanna's already dead. The Cocoon is taken out. The Raid Avengers to try and give them an escape attempt. Frost shots delaying it out as we see Soldier just turning around again. June's pulled in. There's the Force Wall, but Gravity Lapse catches 2. They turn it round. March of the Black King is gonna kill off June, but Tempo Storm taking down 4 members of Soul Torturers. They're moving towards the core.
They are going towards the core, and Tetra, this is everything to them. This is their chance to play this weekend. DreamHack Sweden, Tempo Storm seems to have done it. They are on the core. They are starting to take down the shields, and the core is going to fall.
Tassadar, the last line of defense. He can't do it alone. No one's going to be up in time. The Force will cut delay. That is going to be GG. And Tempo Storm are going to DreamHack Summer.
Just like that, Tempo Storm stays in, and unfortunately, Soul Torturers will find their way out. That is a dominant performance if I've ever seen one from Tempo Storm. I think that they played that perfectly. I am so impressed. Tempo Storm, their backs against the wall. They knew coming in they had to win, and they pull it out.
If we had doubts due to there being a tiebreaker about who deserved, they are gone. Tempo Storm showing definitively that they deserve to be in the mid-season Brawl playoffs. Exceptional gameplay from start to finish, 8 kills to 1, avoiding most of the team fights so that they did not have to deal with it early. Just super well played by them.
They picked their moments. It was so impressive to watch Tempo Storm pull it out. They no longer have the question mark. A 1-1 series against this team before? Well, this is your best of 3. But man, I cannot wait to hear the analysis as we send it over to Caleres and team.
Thank you. That's correct. It looks like Tempo Storm will be advancing into the playoffs coming up in just a few days' time. I'm joined once again by Grubby, Trixler, and Fan. And overall, from my view of the situation, that seemed like the best map that we have seen Tempo Storm play all group stage.
Completely agree with you, Kalaris. It was so good. It was pristine, good execution, great rotations, great Mercamp timings, great team fights.
Tempo Storm were just playing out of their mind. We kept saying it. We were sitting down there watching, and we're like, wow, they are just doing everything perfectly right now. I don't know if it's because their backs were against the wall or if they just drank an energy drink, but they were really on point during that match in particular, and it mattered during that best of one.
Kael'thas and Chen pulling it out there for Tempo Storm, doing well.
Yeah, I mean, outside of a few minor issues, like early game, they were stacking their stuns a little bit. There was a few kills they should have gotten, but they overlapped all their stuns at the same time. But, you know, that's to be expected. That's like nerves when you're in the game for your tournament life. But they showed, right past the early game, they pretty much played flawlessly, played the map exactly how Tempo Storm likes to play it, and everything went really well for them.
It's funny you mentioned that one, because when they went for Ariel and June did his Hammer of Justice the same time as Anubra came in and the others, I was like, okay, Tempo Storm lost. Like, they cannot kill an isolated Ariel with 4 of them. And that was pretty much the only, or at least one of the biggest mistakes they made that game. Every time after was so much better.
Well, Fan, I believe you do have a replay for us.
Yeah, well, let's just jump right into it here. So this is, of course, the last fight, and you can kind of see just, you know, they start off with trying to kill Cattle here. The important thing is they actually missed the Blessed Shield, and Cattle lives with 1 HP in the back here. Chen, an incredibly hard hero to kill. Once you miss the Blessed Shield there and Cattle lives with 1 HP, they turn around. Important to note that Tempo here almost got too hyphy. They got turned around on by the Vala. Notice their health bars dropping, but they recognized in time that they need to retreat. You see all of Tempo Storm backing off, not letting the Vala kill off any of them, and then Som with the beautiful, you know, stun onto the backline there, getting the Oriole kill, and from that moment onwards, it was pretty much game.
All right, well, thank you very much, Fan, as they conclude that team fight. And we are joined here at the analysis desk by Mr. Caterpillar himself. So firstly, congratulations for qualifying for the playoffs.
Thank you. It was definitely the result we wanted.
Yeah. So coming into this final map here of the group stage, there had to be nerves, there had to be anticipations. Talk us through how you guys felt coming in and also the map as a whole.
I don't think my team really does nerves.
Okay.
I've never been nervous for a series. I think June used to be a little nervous when he was first starting out, but I think that's passed. He said he wasn't feeling nervous at all, which is really good for us. We just have our composure set down. We just we made our game plan. We knew what we wanted to ban. We had a decent idea of what they were going, or at least like we had our opener that we wanted, and it played out exactly how we wanted it. And then we had a very similar scrim to that exact game like 2 days ago, so we were really prepared for that comp, especially.
Cool, guys.
Yeah, tell me about that Soul Torture bush gank that was coming around the top left where you walked into a bush. Did you expect them to actually be there? Because Uther was right there with the heal instantly.
I straight up called. I was like, I'm face checking this bush. There's a high chance they're there. Like,
okay.
Because that was the spot for them to be. So I just called June just in case they're there. If not, then whatever. We weren't going to lose anything, but they were there, and then that was easy to turn around because Uther's level 7 talent is busted.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah. Fan?
Yeah, definitely. So going back to kind of the nerves. So going into the game, you know, one of the only mistakes we saw from you guys in that entire game was, as Grubby said earlier, the level 1. You guys spent about 4 seconds of stuns in the same second on the Oriole, you know, right at the start of the game. A little bit of a stun overlap. I could tell you guys were maybe a little bit nervous, but played the rest of the game pretty much flawlessly. So what were you thinking, you know, towards that start of the game?
I mean, honestly, I was playing Chen top against Leoric, so
right.
I wasn't really watching the game. I basically just heard what was going on. I, like we said at the start, like we have enough CC lock that if it overlaps a little, it's not too big of a deal. I guess there it was, but I mean, I actually didn't see.
Well, speaking about that top lane, why don't you tell us about it a little bit? Usually, I feel like Chen and Leoric is a little bit of a difficult matchup, but you seem to do pretty well.
Usually, you can't play Chen like that. You can't just ignore the map, ignore everything. But since their comp was basically tri-lane, bot lane, Johanna mid, 0 pressure on me top, so I'm basically just diving him 100% of the time,
Yeah,
and just there was a time where I was literally just drinking on top Shrine for probably like 40 seconds.
I think I watched that moment.
And it like
Riveting stuff.
yeah, like we banned it out in a way that their comp had no top pressure, so there wasn't any danger in picking the Chen, and that's why we just decided on that. And like overall, as long as you're able to hit Leo for like 2 minutes straight, you do win the matchup.
So finally, what's Tempo Storm's expectations as a whole? You've gone now into the playoffs. What does that mean to you to be able to get to the playoffs? I mean, are you happy that you're just in the playoffs? Are you disappointed that you've gone in 4th place? What's the mentality like right now?
I mean, definitely both of those. We definitely didn't want to be 4th seed, wanted to be higher, didn't want to have to play tiebreaker, but I mean, it's definitely a relief that we made it through, because that would have been really disappointing if we hadn't. And now we're just going series by series and trying to go as far as we can and hopefully end up. The goal is top 4. I mean, if we clean up our games and don't make late game mistakes like we have been in our earlier series, I think we can do it.
All right, well, thank you very much, Caterpillar. Good luck moving forwards into the playoffs as we now check in with the groups to see how everything has unfolded. Our top 4